Hello, internet friends, and welcome to episode number, I believe this is 210. It's been a little while. Been away for a little bit at the Race to World First, which is the entire purpose of this show today. A little bit of a different take on it, though. Not like necessarily a World First, World Second kind of pairing show. Just a bit of a wrap up there with the Silver Medalists in Method. We have Shades and Cayna on the show today, as well as the sudden World Fourth FatSharkYes coming in with Loozy and Scott. So before we get into too much more of that, though, and if you have any questions, of course, say that for the second half of the show when we're just like, you know, talk with you guys and go off of the cuff or whatever. But light show notes, just kind of just wrapping up what just did transpire, talking about how Ny'alotha was or wasn't. If you've been here before the show started, then a taste of things to come potentially. But of course, thank you very much to all those that are supporting the show, the stream, and everything in between, and making sure I can keep doing this as a weird internet job. So thank you to all those who are supporting the show directly. And of course, if you want to do so the same, there are many ways to do so. Links are down below on YouTube. And of course, links are down below here on Twitch. But the big, of course, shout out that I would not be here now, moving what I have here with the different tech that I have going on here on my head. Behind the scenes here, of course, big shout out to my sponsors over at Corsair and Elgato. If you guys are looking for any bits and bobs and pieces and parts for an upcoming build, your current build, or the like, then you can go check out the links. Also, they're down below. Like, that's where most things are on the internet if you're watching a video player in some regard. They're down below the stream. So I just did a huge, big build recently. I did just take my Virtuoso overseas to go to the Race to World First in Germany recently. Just plugged it in, no probs. But you can go check out those below if you want to keep this going. And of course, plenty of shows on the horizon yet still, although I'm not sure about all of the spec shows considering we're murmurs of alpha or beta. Shadowlands soon. There was a PTR update the other day. What the heck is that for? But anyway, over across the show today, we do have the bench lord himself. I mean, sorry, his name is Cayna. Hello, sir. Welcome.
What the fuck? That's not the introduction I was looking for then.
Well, you're the couch man with us. It definitely felt differently until you got to the couch with us at the Race to World First. You gave us all the info.
Yeah. Well, kind of knew coming in I probably wouldn't do that many bosses. Wanted to like go to the couch a bit earlier, but you know, and plus given +5 idle level, had to farm a bit, had to be around a bit. And then you go to reset and it's like, yeah, it's not happening, is it?
Oh.
So,
how many bosses did you actually put under your belt though during this first push?
not many. I mean, like the weirdest thing is like normally maybe you would come in for like an actual like you know like a bit more decent like in between boss because it would like drop you good loot. But the loot in this tier is so dog shit. It's like, yo, Cayna, you wanna come do Hive Mind or JK just drops a ring for you? You know, the Facciona, yeah, it's +5 idle level on your shoulder because heroic bosses drop like almost equivalent idle level. So this is like no point to do like in between bosses really.
Yeah.
So I think I did Drestigath and Shitar, and I could have probably done Facciona or something, you know, if I needed loot there, but the loot's so shit, it's like, what's the point?
But you're going to be bringing a different perspective on this from that side because we do have Shades here as well. Hi, Deepshades.
Hello, hello.
You got a video or apparel or shoes up on a different monitor right now? You ready to go?
Nah, I fully concentrate on this interview, of course.
Well, I don't really call it an interview. Once we get going here, I'm just going to like steer the ship. We're just going to talk about this crazy race 8.3. You ready to talk about corrupted gear?
Woohoo! Corrupted gear.
All right, and Loozy is here as well. Welcome back, sir.
Thank you, thank you.
Are you ready to talk about corrupted gear?
I guess.
I mean,
it's gonna be a thing, right? So, yeah, let's talk about it. Because it's definitely been a thing in our guild with you know, bit of a weird tank setup there. So
yeah,
and that was because corrupted. So yeah.
And then you've known FatSharkYes Scott for how long now? And this is the first time I've ever seen his face. Is the chat room ready to see him? Let's see. Scott, say hi.
Hello.
I'm waiting for the emotes. Wait, you saw? Oh, Pentas apparently saw your face years ago, so it's not new to him.
Yeah, I mean, I have known quite a few people in the guild for a long time, but yeah, we don't stream or anything, so it's
yeah. No, okay. I was waiting for a little more than that, but that's that then. He left me hanging. I was like, okay, that's fair. Well, yeah, but the whole streaming thing has definitely changed the entire course of the Race to World First, and I went over this on the couch multiple different times, and I'm sure the different coverage from complexity limit side of things to take TV and method side of things has definitely evolved over time. But so the sandwich we have here with you guys, though, is sort of comparing, contrasting the different sides of this. I do have we have some mathy stuff to bring up, but most of the time we're just going to be just talking about the different little major facets of this whole community-driven, player-driven experience that's been happening lately, though. So, I mean, Scott, to go back to you, to shed a little more information on who you are within FatSharkYes. So, what do you do when it comes to the guild, and how long have you been doing the World of Warcraft thing?
well, I'm a officer in FatShark. I got promoted after last tier, but I played melee DPS up until this point. But then we had a issue of tanks. So I decided to go tank this tier, and I played Vengeance Demon Hunter. So, and I've been playing WoW for about 6 years, but I didn't really start playing properly until the end of WoD, and then joined FatShark at the start of this expansion. So,
how did because I know you're saying Vengeance Demon Hunter, but obviously you guys locked in World fourth. What was that a strategy that you guys had planned out beforehand to go Vengeance, or was that just I'm gonna play it because it looks strong? Did you play the whole like weird, huge HPS gluttony build? Like, how'd that work out as a decision for you guys overall?
well, basically, I was just doing the blue world quest swoop, as everyone else was doing, to try and get some corrupted items, and I cleared the fields in Stormsong Valley and got a tier 3 Echoing Void Ring, which I think it was like a 20k DPS increase for a blue ring, which was pretty good. And then when we killed, I think it was the first time we did N'zoth on Heroic, I was 5th on damage, so I decided to go Vengeance this tier, after farming 80 traits on a DK.
Oh. Did you then have to farm 80 traits on the Demon Hunter as well?
No, we don't do that.
Okay. Then, Loozy, can you corroborate the story there? How long have you been doing? Because you've been on the show before, but just in the official capacity within the guild, within FatShark. Yes. How long have you been a part of the guild, and what do you do? Do you just blast things?
Well, I play a Warlock, and that's where I've been on here a couple times before. I've been in FatShark for, I want to say, like 5 months maybe. So this is my first year with FatShark.
Oh wow!
And I played in Scrubbusters before. And then Scrubbusters disbanded after a shower progress, so I went to FatShark. And I mean, still kind of a new guy, I guess, first year playing there, but just your average range DPS player, really.
So we have 2 Warlocks on the show now. Who's the better Warlock?
Me.
Wait, what? Oh, you asked me to take. You don't. Quiet.
I have a Warlock.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, I'm pretty confident since Xer was not here.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh.
Or Kush.
Savo isn't here, man. It's anyone's game. Yeah.
It's his birthday
It's
today,
actually
I think, right?
Yeah, it's his birthday. Happy birthday, Saro.
Happy birthday, Jonas.
Ooh.
So, Shades, do you have anything you wanted to add into the Warlock feud, or how long have you been? Because you've all these races so far, you've been basically only. I don't think I've ever seen you other than splits. You've always just played Warlock. Is that just what calls to you? Is that just, are you a one trick, or do you want to play something else sometimes?
I mean, I used to play your class on a pretty good level.
Oh, it's way back in the day, though.
I mean, beginning of Legion. But I mean, let's be honest, Warlock is usually always good. You always have 1 or 2 of them in your lineup. for us it's usually Xav and me. So if I don't have to play something else, I won't play something else because I don't really enjoy any other classes than Warlock. But I have to admit I don't really enjoy Warlock either. So it's
I'm
like
waiting for the BoEs Cayna to over on GG. Are you ready, Fabo? The 3 OGs.
Honestly, I would be down again to play Base Shades. I think Enhancement was one of the more fun times I had in World of Warcraft, but I think after Hellia they kinda destroyed the spec in my opinion. So I went back to
Taurus was
Warlock.
good with like the gloves.
Oh, well, the beginning of Legion was good, and then they gutted it because it was too scary. And the end of Legion, it was like, oh, it's pretty fun.
Yeah.
Took the whole expansion to get back to where it
It
started.
was pretty scary though. Like, not many specs can out DPS Shadow Priest run into madness.
Well, don't bring up Sword of Madness now.
True.
It's more the usefulness that was appealing. Purge, Speed Totem, Short Interrupt.
Yeah.
Like you were just useful. But that's kind of the same with Warlock. Healthstones, Gateway, Purge, Self-Dispel, Interrupt, General Dispel. There's a lot.
Dispels have actually been crazy. It's like, now we like have done it a couple times, it's like every mechanic, but what about Warlock Dispel though?
Oh no, man.
Yeah, I feel like nowadays in Method it's always, can a Warlock do it? Is
Oh,
it feasible?
to not have a healer do it, you have the Warlock do it.
Yeah.
Yep. And we'll see what Halinka wants to bring back or bring out from the old bag of tricks across the board in Shadowlands, though. But I guess let's just jump right into the Ny'alotha Waking City madness, though. Cayna, you only saw in the opening bit, you only saw certain bosses firsthand during the 2-week push. But obviously, you're watching, following along, seeing other guilds were doing. And did you guys take the week off though? So you haven't done farm yet, have you?
Yeah, we haven't done farm. We're training again Wednesday.
Oh, okay. So
it's like the first raid since we killed it.
Favorite boss or least favorite boss though?
I don't think I have a favorite boss this tier. Like it would be Rauden, but even that like with the reset shit made it easier, and then they just nerfed it by 5% straight after because I guess we got pity points or something.
Oh,
so it's like literally like Rauden was an okay fight, I guess.
I think
Could
it's
have
such
been
a shame that a lot of people won't get to like experience like the really tightly tuned Rauden.
Yeah,
it was for us at least it felt pretty tight. And
yeah, I mean it was tight. It's just like
I kind of did the supremacy reset thing to negate the first orb and then like eased up a little.
And obviously get like a little extra bit percent of the HP off, so you can skip the last orb as well easier.
Yeah,
but I don't know. I think they could have made that fight like really actually hard if you just had to play 4 sets instead of 3. Which, too bad. And then other than that, I think every single boss was either undertuned, shit-tuned, exploitable, but like not dispelling. Well, it's not really an exploit, but not intended way, I guess. Or
talking about Il'gynoth, yeah.
Yeah, Il'gynoth, or
cheesable.
Cheesable, yeah, that's a good word. Either on the tune, like it's cheesable, or on the tune, like Carapace or Shatar. Like I legit was hoping Shatar would be like Butcher level or something, yeah. Like really, really hard, and it just became a freaking joke. Like that's like a boss where like you have you need a 3 heal or something to make the DPS checks, and you just end up 5 healing it because there's no DPS
like
checks.
completely changed the fight as well.
Yeah.
Because if it would have been like a super tight DPS check, and you'd have to kind of play around, how can we kind of play the boss so we can cut a healer here, cut a healer there, maybe like play something with extra like cooldowns that can help the healers, all that. It would completely change the boss.
It kind of feels like it was the reverse of that though, because the fact that you 4 or 5 heal it and there's a lot of healing to happen, it kind of was that first little, because that wing almost entirely, right? The Shadhar, Drestagath, Il'gynoth wing is kind of like 3 healer focused bosses though. So maybe that's what Blizzard was going for.
Maybe, I don't know. I just think the boss was on the tunes. Like,
Hmm.
It feels like in phase 2 and like phase 1, you want to bring like extra healers and stuff, and that's fine. But like in phase 3, if you bring too many healers, you should get overwhelmed by the poison and die. I'm pretty sure phase 3 was the easiest phase. Like you just got there by blasting in phase 2 and then you killed the boss. It's like, okay, hands up, loot.
Yeah. So the bullet point, like I said, favorite boss, least favorite boss, I think it kind of comes down to there's different like levels, I guess, of this, right? So like there's biggest challenge, which both Method and Fat Shark probably had different ones. So I mean, Scott, do you have a counterpoint? Like, what was your boss you got hung up on the most during the progression? Because we didn't obviously see all your POVs not that often. So what hung you guys up the most during?
It was Dark Inquisitor Zanesh, the football boss. Everyone knows it as.
So both
That
of you,
was
both guilds.
by far the hardest boss in the raid. It just didn't take any WoW skill. It was simply just line your camera up. I mean, the boss wouldn't have been that bad if they just gave you an indicator, like actually a built-in in-game indicator. But because you had to use like this Wii core that was just a line, but it didn't even do anything because the ball, if it hit the right of your hitbox, it would go to the right. It was just a bad boss. They should have kept the heroic mechanic to let one explode and not wipe the raid, and then that might have fixed it.
Maybe you guys both got hung because that was Mike and I were casting when Method was there. It was an hour before we got on, and 3 hours of Zanesh, and we saw some complete nonsense during that boss fight. That wasn't like what you just said, Scott. It wasn't like mechanical problems because the boss, by and large, once you get the dance down, is pretty much a patchwork encounter. But there was this historic one, like an hour and a half before you guys actually got the kill, where Minnie was standing right in line with the bounce, good to go. The ball just passes right through him and hits the pillar and explodes. So, like, how do you not wipe to that?
But then you also have like the opposite one where you think it's gonna be a wipe because you see, you know, someone like misses like positions and sends it like directly through an obelisk, and then the ball just passes through and goes into the circle. It's like, okay, clearly that didn't hit.
The
Yeah.
quick
So
high
it's
five
just
did.
at that point is like pulling a lever. Just see, you know, did you actually get the RNG you needed to kill the boss? And it's not even like, I don't know. Honestly, it felt like such terrible design, and it was such an annoying boss to kind of be stuck on with things that are like sometimes, you know, out of your control.
It's like I don't like just bosses where it feels like you're just fighting a certain mechanic instead of actually fighting the boss. Like the boss
And
itself
that's
doesn't really
literally
like.
what the boss feels like.
Yeah,
It's
you're
like
not
the only
like,
thing
oh
on
my
it.
god, I need to like, health pot and potion here and these healer stock dicks and things like that. It's like you just hope that the football group does it and then you kill the boss. Like there's no fight really. There's no challenge.
Bit of
Just
a
a shitty
puzzle.
mechanic.
It's kind of a puzzle boss, which I use that term to like quote. So Star Wars: The Old Republic has one puzzle boss per raid. For like 11 different raids at this point now, but they always have one boss that's like a math problem that is being solved while you're DPSing the boss or something kind of like that. That's the one thing I got from Zanesh, and that it was just like this puzzle boss that they had to figure out, where the boss was less important than the puzzle. Feels different in WoW though, for sure. And then how about your how about the planning you guys may have had, and this is to go back and to bring this up, let me go actually into Discord. Loozy, when you guys were sort of putting things together for the amount of time you were going to raid, what boss were you, because obviously it was Xanax that held you up the longest. Was there a boss you were planning a lot for and then you just kind of like steamrolled through it?
I think the obvious one there for us is got to be Il'gynoth, because you know we saw both. That's like the big thing with us, right? Is that we don't really day raid. We do start earlier sometimes, but that also allows us to have like a lot of time outside the raid to prepare, like watch VODs, watch different streams and everything. You know, we see Limit and we see Method all do this. Dispel tactic, you know, they have weak auras, everything, and we like map out. Can warlocks dispel themselves? Could we have warlocks dispel other people? Who should dispel who? How should we position? All this stuff. And then we see that this Chinese guild is running this no dispel tactic. And as literally I come home from work and I sit down and I watch this and I'm like, oh, this could actually work. And I like link it in there. You know, we kind of talked it over a little bit beforehand as well. And I think Scott can weigh in on this a little bit because he has like the you know the whole officer angle on it. I think the decision was made when they hit like 20 something %. And we're like, okay, we can do this for sure. And then we end up killing it in, I think 37 pulls in total. And I think we might have had like upwards of 20 with the other tactic. And then on the very first pull, we decided not to dispel the debuffs. We went into I think we killed the last organ. If not killed it, then got it very low. So, I mean, right there, we gained a lot of world ranks, gained a lot of progress, and it was a boss where we kind of expected that, hopefully we reached it on Sunday in the first reset. Hopefully we could kill it that reset, and then we end up killing it on the early on the Monday. So definitely, just jumped with that boss, played a lot better, and did a lot better than we expected on that one.
You've got just really rough. I pulled up your wipe count, I believe, here. Yeah. 36 on Ny'alotha.
Yeah, we had I think it was 13 wipes when we started with the no dispel strat. Maybe it took us 13 pulls.
Yeah, something like
to kill
that.
the boss.
And that was
So-
really just about getting stuff like positions, how we should kind of play around the baits with the eyes, and how we should position ourselves according to healers and tanks, and who we should have pop cooldowns on what, and make sure we had enough damage in the last phase with cooldowns and everything.
Yeah.
So it was just, I mean, very, very fast progress. Really didn't take a whole lot of time. So yeah.
And then to go off of what Loozy was then setting up there, Scott, from the officer perspective, what you guys was it that boss then, or how did you guys go about pre-planning what you would do? Because at the stage you were raiding at, you had so much information that was just being fed into you from the different POVs, the race to world first, and obviously the bosses that were already dying. So how do you amalgamate that information and then decide what path to go or what strats to use for these bosses?
Well, we kind of just get like a wide image of what's going on, and then decide on the best strat for us. I think we used Exhaustus's strategy on Vexiona, which I think we killed it in 3 pulls with that strategy of just moving back and forth in the last phase instead of moving from one side of the room all the way to the other side.
Right.
And I mean, yeah, there wasn't really like a lot of the officers don't have time to actually watch stuff because a lot of us work and have like other commitments. So I wouldn't say it's we just spend the entire day watching streams while doing M+. It's more like, we have like a wide range of people who, watch like maybe one stream for 10 minutes and then come to us with an idea. So that's kind of my perspective on it.
Okay. Because the difference here is that we currently have the locked in for the top 10 right now, right? So we have complexity limit, NA world first, method EU world second, pieces EU world third, and then FatSharkYes when you guys come in EU world fourth. But we have the whole. Let me actually pull this up real quick here because I have the image for you guys. We do have the entire first top 10 that have been pulled in here, but it's US, then EU, Asia, EU, Asia. And those are the regions across the board here, which is actually, it's still crazy to see how many of the Asian guilds are right up there in like the rat pack for the race to world first. But to be very clear about this, and I don't know, Loozy, or if you or Scott wants to sort of helm this one, is that you guys weren't going for world first. So locking in
exactly.
world fourth, how did that... what?
I mean, I think I talked to quite a few people in the guild a lot about like what their expectations are, and I mean everyone just wants to do the best we can, but it's generally if we get top 10 we're happy. We don't really care about world rank. I mean we just like having raiding as a group and killing the bosses, but not everyone can raid daytime, so yeah, we're kind of that sort of guild for people who work a lot.
Did you guys actually raid day like a single day, or?
We the closest we did to day rating was we start at 3 hours earlier on
so
Wednesday, the first Wednesday, Saturday, Sunday. So we start at 16
Right.
and raid until 24. But then we also have a 45-minute to 1 hour dinner break at that point.
Right. Okay.
And that's like the closest we get to day rating.
Yeah.
And then on the day we killed it, the very last one, because there were a lot of server issues the night before, so we essentially lost an hour there.
Mm-hmm.
We decided to start 1 hour earlier, so we started at 15 server time. And then we also had server issues at that point while we were reclaying on Sanesh, where we would DC.
Oh, wow.
That's
And I don't know, it felt terrible. I think maybe we've gained upwards of half an hour from that daytime.
Yeah, you gave me this chart that I'll pull up on screen right now too, and this sort of brings into the whole next topic here. The difference in what complexity limit and method aimed for, and I don't know specifically how much pieces worked for. I was trying to make a big, like, coagulated show here with a whole bunch of people from different guilds, but complexity limit turned down the offer, and pieces I was just told, Batsu told me that everyone's sort of taking a huge break from the game, like a week and a half off. They're not even going to raid for a little while. They're all going to like go do their own IRL thing. So no one wanted to talk about the game. So
well, you say that, and then you look at the Getarex boosting sheet, and Pieces is there with the 2 runs again, man.
Well,
I just love
And
it.
I did a casual 12-hour curve boost with 3 pieces boys yesterday.
yeah. Well, that's
Yeah,
playing the
definitely
game and
taking it chill.
yeah, taking it, but sure. But you gave me this huge document, right? This I'll bring this up on screen right now. This is all of the time you guys put in the raid, so not prepping with Mythic Plus, not farming AP or
This
whatever.
is
not
only like the raid times, and
Right.
it should also be mentioned that when we have an early start, so when there's 16 to 24, it's like an optional thing, and I think Scott can kind of talk about that as well, because we do have some people that just can't attend that, people with
Yeah.
jobs, and then they arrive later, or we need to take an early dinner break and wait for our other main tank to come home because he really needs loot from this one boss. We need him to kill the boss and all that.
Yeah, I mean, that's been a common thing. Like back before this too, when I played DPS, I would end up tanking maybe the first 3 bosses on Mythic because the tank couldn't be home in time. I mean, it's not like, I mean, everyone quotes like optional and you'll be kicked if you don't turn up, but it's still optional. But I mean, it actually is optional this time. So
yeah, there's a lot of people that don't. I mean, I think on this Wednesday we had, I want to say we had like 22 people there, maybe like at the raid out of what, like 27 in total.
Mm-hmm.
So there are quite a few people that can attend, but it's like, it is what it is. Then we kind of fit our setup around that, and maybe we wait with doing Shedharm, wait with doing Vexiona because we have a mage main that really needs the shoulders or something like that.
What's
We kind of play around that.
What's interesting to look at sort of this type of information though, and I don't know, we can see pieces posted their wipe counts, but obviously we don't know their time investment. But the amount of information that you guys get to derive from everything that, and now is what's coined. Instead, it's not PTR testing or it's not live beta testing now. The joke from this tier was that it's limit testing. So what complexity limit did to test, and then when you get what method worked on, Shades, you actually commented in the Discord chat when Loozy shared this 95 hours in raid. You guys almost did that in a week.
Probably, yeah.
So that's the big difference between what you would limit were pushing for compared to the guilds that were sort of right behind you guys. But it's crazy to see how much time it took them to get to where it took you in your 2-week push, right? But is it still, Shades, would you still say it's like still a 2-horse race at this point? Or are we back to what we were a couple of expansions ago? Because the time investment that you guys did is so different than what other guilds are able to put in, I suppose.
Yeah, I definitely think it's 2-horse race. I mean, I know I make myself unpopular here again, especially with the pieces people, but I just don't think right now at least they have the quality to compete with either method or limit, even though, to be fair, on the first day they did play better than us. And as far as I know, they only day rated the first 5 days, and then they went also to kind of FatShark hours. But right now I just feel like the 2 guilds are the better guilds. And especially considering we lost this tier, next year we will just be way better because we obviously saw the consequences and like want to improve ourselves as well. That's why we opened recruitment. We got now already today, and we will also like adjust some other things within the guild. And with FatShark, I think they're a great guild. Probably one of the guilds with the highest skill cap within the guild player-wise. But playing the amount of hours we do versus the hours they do, in a 14 to 16 hours raid day, we obviously have phases where we play really bad because people are tired or get tired during the night. It's something else figuring the tactic out ourselves versus, of course, FatShark also has to figure it out themselves to some extent, and like the people need to get used to the fight, but they get the ground, like the foundation of a tactic by watching the streams. we did this tier as well, to be honest. I mean, we copied a lot from Limit, don't have to lie about that. Even though it didn't really work good for us because we really saw this tier like we are not used to copying. So when we copied something, we tried to like improve it, and then we realized actually the improvement was useless because it didn't work out in the end.
Right.
But yeah, I do think at the end of the day, it's Limit and Method that are by far like the best skills right now out there going for the world first race. I do think FatShark and Pieces both have a chance, but it's more like how it was now with Limit. When you are a guild that starts going for world first, you need a few tiers where you just gain the knowledge and like the whole team needs to adapt to like this kind of raiding. It was the same when back then Method and Serenity split. Both guilds just turned into a worse version of the initial guild just because there was new people, a new leadership, people needed to get accustomed to each other. And I do think with Pieces and with FatShark, if they would actually aim for world first within a couple of tiers, they might end up on our level. I do have to say though, the good thing about Limit is of course they are NA. There's no competition guild. Like they can take whoever is good, I think, from their player pool. While in Europe, there's some people that might not want to go to Method and like prefer like Pieces. Like we have to share with a handful of good guilds the player base, while Limit can basically yoink whoever is good if that person actually wants to go hardcore.
Yeah. No, I think the only guild, and they were with us in Crefeld, right? And they sort of spent the same thing with Turkey and Midwinter. I think a lot of what Midwinter is doing as like the next like bigger NA guild still is nowhere near what Complexity Limit has put together, because they have sort of the mentality that FatShark you guys have, right? Where you're only going to have so much time in. You're not forcing people to prepare all the ults. You're not pushing everyone to 80 neck. You weren't doing the 12 to 14 to 16 hour like overall raid days in and outside of it, right? But they're still right up there. But it just seems like you need almost that next level of time commitment to be able to compete with what Limit and Method are doing, for sure.
Well, this is what WoW is about. Time.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you need to figure out a tactic. And nowadays, sadly, because I dislike that fact about WoW, what I liked back in the days is when I like looked up to Method or Blood Legion in that case, the hardcore player was the person that played the least. You just did like your 1-2 heroic split rates in farm, and then you went to progression, did there like the 1 heroic week, where a good guild like Method, I remember, like I used to be also in top 10 guilds for a long time, but like in the top 10 guilds I was in, you still needed like the whole heroic week to do your splits. Method was so good and time efficient, they only did it in the evening, then you blasted 2 weeks progression, that was it. Nowadays we go for 1 week island farm, a whole week of splits, PvP cap and whatsoever, go already tired into the Mythic week and have another 2 weeks of progression. So we end up playing 1 month of hardcore, and even in the farm we are still slaving. It sounds extreme, but at the end of the day it is. And I think this is not like what the competition should be about. I wanna fight Limit, FatShark, yes, or Pieces just because they're like equally or like even better players than me. They should have like they should have a plan, which classes they want to play, with whom they want to play and stuff. But at the end of the day, a guild should win because within progression, they were better with figuring out tactics and with using the time usefully. And this is not like really the case anymore. To some extent, of course, Limit showed us that with Max being outside, minimizing breaks, being really efficient. But like all this around with the hey, Method and Limit farming 18 a here, 75 on alt. We are buying BoEs for 200 mil gold. Like this is, we are like reaching levels. I mean, if you think about the amount of gold spent by alone Method and Limit, if you would convert that to real life money, it would be 75k. I can buy a BMW for the items I buy in game. Like, like what level did we reach? Like this is just ridiculous and it's not fun.
I mean, it's the same thing with the Scribe wedding ring, yeah. But if you remember, Fabo, like the in-game ring that he bought was more expensive than his wedding ring.
Yeah, and I don't know. I just want to say at the end of the day, congratulations, Limit. You beat us. I mean, this time they did either way. I just mean, generally speaking, I just want to say congratulations, Limit, or congratulations, FatShark. You beat us because we were simply the better players and you simply played a better progression. And I don't want to say congratulations, you outboard us in terms of BoEs. Like, I don't know, it's just boring.
Yeah.
I don't know. Progress rating definitely has taken a big hit, sadly, in my opinion. I do have to admit, and I don't want to bring like a bad mood towards the show, but this tier was one of the tiers where I had the least fun in my, in quotation mark, World of Warcraft career that I ever had.
Yeah. No, Mike and I do our little Just Band segments at all of these so far, right? All the different events we've gone to over the past like 2 years, just sort of get like our hot takes and get all of our blip out as it kind of like builds up. And that was a huge part of our whole discussion was that, yes, buying BoEs, buying power with gold and time outside of raid preparation's been a thing for all the way back since forever, right? But this tier was something insane with how corrupted gear was, with how incredibly strong these pieces were, and how disproportionately powerful the BoE market, because, and in this regard too, back on the whole 2-horse race thing, when we talk about all this on the couch, what Limit, they're basically sponging up everything in the NA region, and what Method you guys are doing, you're basically sponging up all of them in the EU region. So, like,
well, when we talk about gold, it's a 3-horse race because pieces is pieces, and they have many gold banks. I think.
Oh well, I mean,
pieces is pieces. They always have gold.
Credit where credit is due in that regard. But this tier alone, I think, brought it way more to a community like boiling point where you're like, what is going on with all of this like rampant BoE gold madness? I think Galilix now and the Galilix gold boosting community has become such a more of a commonplace discussion across the board than it ever had been before. At least you didn't know about it. Now so many people, because all the eyes that were on the 2 different coverage points or anyone else's streams during this last race, it's such a different landscape. And it's one of the big things that is definitely going to influence potentially how Blizzard changes things in Shadowlands or doesn't. We don't know what the gearing system is going to be.
It's the same with Split, sorry for interrupting, but at the end of the day, it's like it was already an Eternal Palace, really obvious. A guild like Method that has a big fan base, or nowadays also complexity limit. We just have a way easier time filling our split rates with fans and supporters.
Yeah.
While a guild like Pieces has a very harder time, and I think FatShark even mentioned it somewhere. I think Loozy wrote it here in the chat, or Scott, that we had before, that like they didn't even do proper like armor splits because
we're not doing that.
Yeah.
Like, because you obviously also don't have the option to fill with that many helpers like we do. You obviously have friends yourself, but like not like this people that you don't really know, but just want to help your guild because they're a fan. And it's just like nowadays the race is influenced by so many outside things that obviously like long-lasting guilds like Method or like Limit, because the NA EU thing, like we just get way more support, and this isn't like really our skill or anything that puts us then a step above the competition. It's just, we are here for a long time, gave our best, did a little bit for the community, and now we just have 2 item level on average more than Pieces because we did what we did in the past. It's a little bit exaggerated, but at the end of the day, it is quite a difference in how much we can funnel into players versus a Pieces, FatShark, and probably the Asian guilds have also the same issue. So.
Right. I mean, I got to shout out Max. He's in chat right now hanging out with you guys, but he said, and to quote him, he said, he feels that it would be really, really hard a thing to compete with what Method and Limit splits. Is almost like the regions appointed the guilds as their champions. And there is obviously some endearing quality to that, right? Because you have, in any other like real sports oriented stuff, you have teams that are competing in different regions. You obviously have in like Dota or League, you have like the NA-EU rivalries. It sort of happens, right? It's sort of just those are your teams, you support them. So there is that part of it that's good. The only problem is that really, and this is what Nex brought up on the couch, we were interviewing him during a segment back at the Ny'alotha Race to World First, is that they don't have that ability. So they're just at a huge disadvantage, both in gold, in their community, like funneling them stuff to help them out, right? And of course, different guilds will get different limelights and they'll build their own little fan base there too, and their communities will help them out and grow. But it's so different with what Method has and what Limit has in their respective regions compared to any other guild that wants to compete. I don't know what the Asian realms have, right? Because there was a ton of, like, they're right there, right? 4 in the top 10, just bam, 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 right up there. It's hard to tell.
It kind of goes into like why it's like a 2-head races this time as well, because like Asian people, they rate 24/7. like gaming in Asia is just in general, I think, so popular. I think every single guild over there like just day rates.
I mean, I think you can kind of get that from like the streams that have been watched from that.
Yeah.
We had the Ichan Hong, that was the guild that was very, very close to killing it at the same time as us, where during our weekly I was literally playing on main monitor and then having the Chinese streaming website on the other one, and it was terrible trying to like figure out where you could like turn up the quality or change anything and all these different Chinese commercials. And like watching that, and at that point they've been raiding for hours, right?
Yeah.
Like they're basically raiding when I went to bed and still raiding when we killed it.
Yep.
So it was absolutely insane the amount of hours they put into it as well. They raided a lot.
I just think like a big problem is like the World First Race or like World of Warcraft in general is such a unique game with such big teams. I mean, we are at the end of the day 20 to 30 man rosters. So like Blizzard can make it a proper tournament with like rules and them giving us prize money, like, and that like with what Method and Limit has created, it's so much free publicity. There's no reason for Blizzard to really join the race and like make something themselves. So they also don't have to establish any rules. So like this unfair playing field will always still be established until like Blizzard would actually do something about it.
Right.
Like I think it is hard for any guild that actually would want to consider seriously getting into World First rating to actually do it. Because like also Max said, you will always have the champions in both EU and NA, and Asia probably has also a guild that will always have more support than the others. And at the end of the day, it is Blizzard's task to actually fix this whole race and make it available for everyone on the same terms. How you would do it, like you have a certain roster, you have certain hours you can play, etc., etc. Like I don't know how you would do it. I'm too stupid for that, or I didn't put enough thought into it yet. But it is definitely a thing that Blizzard has to go communicate with, especially both Limit and Method, and maybe also the community, and find a way to fix this whole situation for everyone.
It's funny. It brings up the next little like side segue point here. Is that shout out to Warcraft Radio and their awesome interview they just did with Ian, game director of World of Warcraft. That super laid back, hour long just discussion of the game and the patch and the future. But there was pretty much another confirmation, even though we had heard rumors and rumblings about this changing, but Ian confirming it again, there will not be a worldwide raid launch. They're not going to change that. The Race to World First is a community-driven, player-driven event, and they seem to be pretty hands-off. Even if in the same interview, he also admits the fact that there are so many eyes on the race now that it did impact their decision for how they changed or hotfixed, like when the Raden change came in, or the fact that we're gonna nerf Echoing Void, but then they were like, whoa, actually, on the reset, right? So they are still adjusting and changing to it, but they still aren't going to like world launch it, even though, and yes, I know it's Classic, BWL Classic just launched worldwide, so I know it's
actually.
I still think that's like the general consensus between all like guilds is that even if we in EU got the same launch as them, like we don't care that was it gonna be like 8 in the evening over here CET.
Sure.
Like that's fine, because we'll just kind of we'll raid for however many hours, clear a couple easy bosses, maybe do a few splits, whatever, and then we'll go to bed, we'll wake up, and we just won't be those 16 hours behind. So it's, I don't know, I mean, for us it's not really a big thing, because I mean it will be a regular raid evening for us. I guess it would be nice to have an extra one, but it's not like it would change our world rank when you see it's basically only you guys competing with Limit, where it would potentially be the defining factor between a world first and a world second.
Yeah, I mean, on that. Yeah, you go.
Oh, you go.
Well, what I would say about this is obviously it doesn't affect us in FatShark because we don't start raiding until like 4 p.m. or something on the Wednesday. But I only think that this starting at different times affects Asia. I don't think it affects EU. I think there's some scenarios where it could hurt Method, but there's also scenarios where it benefits them. Like, I do think Limit pretty much beta tested this entire tier, and
100%.
and I think that there's other times, like I think on Ashara, they got to Ashara first, they played good on Zakul, and then this fix comes in like after they're done raiding, and then you're up the next day and you kind of catch up. I just think that there's pluses, or positives and negatives about starting. But I do think for Asia, it's just they can't get world first because they start first there.
I mean, it's pretty random, honestly. Like, if you think about last world first race in Eternal Palace, we overtook them immediately on Ashvane. Then we fought like a bugged Orkozoa. Then at the same time, maybe on Ashara. They fight a bugged Ashara or like an overtuned Ashara, and they get a nerf on a bad timing for them. I think at the end of the day, having a different start isn't always a bad thing. We talked about it obviously internally in Method as well. There's scenarios where obviously you have a hard boss like Goon that maybe can only die after the reset because you need the extra gear. Even though I still doubt that. Like, I think we could have killed Goon in the first reset with the proper classes. That was our bad. But let's say you have actually a boss that is so good tuned that you can only kill it with the next reset's gear. Then Limit would obviously have like an advantage. But there's also advantages starting a day later and just snacking all the tactics and playing better than them, what we did in the past. But now in a tier, for example, like this one, where they just straight up played better than us.
I mean, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, you go.
In this tier, if we swapped around, like we started earlier, like they would have still beaten us. This tier, they just played way better. It didn't matter.
And like at the end of the day, it would be nice to have a global release because then it would be just a fair playing ground for everyone, and like no one would have any excuses. But I think for like the European people that try to defend us losing, at the end of the day, starting later can have its advantages. It's not just bad.
Yeah.
Well, it's going to be super frustrating as well when you get there. I do believe this is a little bit back in the day with Kil'jaeden, for example, that was hilariously busted, obviously before the Race to World First coverage started happening, as it started with Cahoon. But Kil'jaeden was... There were days lost in aggregate of like waiting for Blizzard to fix the boss you couldn't beat. Whereas when Max and Co got to the problem points with N'zoth, you at least, because of the eyes waiting on it, Blizzard had to sort of respond somewhat quickly when they bugged out the 25% extra secret hidden not secret phase, right? And like how the door phase worked and things of that nature. Things got fixed relatively quickly compared to Kil'jaeden, where you were basically submitting a ticket and then waiting till the next day to have anything worked on that fight. Because if you didn't know about this, Kil'jaeden had some overlaps where it just killed your raid. You could not do the mechanics. They were just not synced in a way that you could handle them. Whereas...
Oh, sorry.
No, so whereas like you have N'zoth just goes immune when you don't know how it works or why it went immune or what trigger. And of course, again, came out in the Warcraft radio interview with Ian that there was just an and instead of an or, part of the code. They had to go fix it. So
the good thing is obviously now more eyes are on the event. So Blizzard obviously tries to fix their product faster. And especially back then in Tomb of Sargeras, I think it was Thanksgiving. Meanwhile, it was the weekends when they didn't work. So we basically always had to wait until the Monday to actually get fixes in. But I do have to say, and I mean, it maybe sounds like really bad, and I shouldn't say that, but I think it is quite embarrassing delivering a product which was this rate, how they did it. I do understand, obviously, they can't spend like countless of hours and have 200 people testing like this rate prior for us, but like this time they actively decided we don't test the last two bosses.
Yeah.
And I think we can generally agree that Carapace was one of the bosses where the majority of the player base, especially in the hardcore scene, thought it will be a great one and like a very hard one, also considering it dropped like better loot. And in the end, it turned out to be such a disappointment. Apart from the fact Limit played it really extraordinarily good, but I mean, even if they played it worse, like 100 tries for the second last boss is a joke. And then going to N'zoth, that the tuning was okay, considering that like the top end guilds having so much corruption. I guess the damage check was quite hard, but like I just had like these Argus vibes. You think of like the last boss of the last expansion, N'zoth, like also lore wise, I think pretty big. I'm not like the biggest lore guy, but I just imagine like we fight a great boss. You start off with tentacles, then you have like the secret mythic phase after a long time for the first time ever, and it felt just like a half time, like a little breather. you have like one mechanic in there or two, literally didn't feel like a proper boss fight.
Yeah.
And then I mean, I don't exactly know what happened with the limit 25% try. I think like the abilities just didn't work like it happened also in the past already on bosses. But like when they then get debated that the door is spawning at 25% another time, and I mean, Ian now explained why it happens.
Right.
But then just go to the guild, go to Max, yo, guys, this isn't supposed to spawn. Obviously, it kind of spoils it a bit because it could have been intended. But like, it's just such a big debate and it's such a big mistake on their end. And I feel like the communication should just be better and the product shouldn't just be delivered like this. I feel like a little bit more effort because at the end of the day, raiding is still one of the biggest parts of this game. And I mean, let's be honest, compared with MDI and the PvP tournament, the World First Race has like 5 times the amount of viewers or 10 times.
Oh, if
I don't
not
know
more.
exact numbers,
Yeah.
if not more. So the least I can expect is a proper product being delivered. And if it's not proper, then at least good communication from Blizzard's side. And
Yeah.
I don't think that was the case. They did fix the bosses somewhat fast, but I still don't think it's the quality a company like Blizzard should deliver. It should be better, in my eyes.
It's tough. I mean, we can see the way that Ian responds to it in the recent interview, right? And the way that it does put more emphasis on what they have to do. We just don't know how the inner workings of it are right now, right? Because obviously the layoffs that happened at Hit Blizzard before, if Ian has less utilization with a quality assurance or quality control team to actually test things, if the raid internally stuff, then it'll always keep coming around to this weird, awkward station where you're sort of live testing it, which is not ideal when now we know going forward just like the billion watch minutes or more that gets seen across the streams right now. And it does sort of pollute that feeling of World of Warcraft's rating as sort of its highest tier, biggest draw. But
I still have a dream that one day we'll have like Ian, like how we have like this podcast thing kinda, that Ian would just show up here with like, like Scribe, Max, stuff like that. That would be my favorite thing, because like as somebody, Path of Exile is a game, it's like made by GGG.
Yeah.
They're like, Ian has a coach that's basically does that. He just goes like on podcasts with like big streamers and just throws out the questions, like they get to ask him anything. I would love things like that. That would be the communication I would love.
Well, I've done those before in the past. Obviously things change. So you go back to like Mop and Warlords. I had sat down with Ian before he was the game director. We've had those moments. Obviously, we get like the BlizzCon interviews, but those are 25 minutes rushed, if that, right? So it's quite different. And then all of a sudden, they shifted gears to the Josh and Ian, or Josh and someone else, sit down, talk, dev interviews. But those have sort of, where have those gone? So, I don't know.
I mean, like that. I mean, then you're still like, when you do the BlizzCon things, you still like put like a content creator. I mean, you did yours with Mike.
Yep.
Like, those are still just like, like kind of like YouTubers or like personalities. I would just like them to literally sit in the cast with like raid leaders or like and officers from Limit and from Method and stuff, and just like, just have like the competitive side, like just rapid fire question him. That'd be like, I think that would be really, really nice. So we can get like some good understanding of what actually Blizzard is, like what they're up to and like how they see certain things.
So last big topic to get into here during this whole thing, and Scott, I'm going to toss this to you because you kind of hit on a couple of these points earlier, but the big whole topic here before we take the mid break, and if chat wants to jump in on this, we can definitely take questions from them, is the evolution of the race to world first. And this sort of, I think, it didn't happen only because of the Skype unmuted microphone talking to chat for a little while, and then the Reddit thread that got spawned. But the evolution of the race to world first, and essentially what Complexity Limit aren't the first ones to do, but the most eyes, right? Is that, do you suspect all the attention that they've garnished during the race to world first for Mythic N'zoth specifically, right? This last tier, and their approach to having an analyst and a coach in some ways, that 21st man, which is very common. Actually, it's not only the first time it's happened, but anyway, now people will know about it. is that going to impact other and more guilds to adapt and grow and sort of restructure to approach raiding similarly to that? Or nothing will change at all drastically and only like method limit will do this? Scott, what do you think?
Well, I think Method obviously are going to do it next year. I don't think there's any doubt about that. But I think the motivation for someone to do this, because a lot of people in WoW, they want their character to get an achievement, right? And there's a huge lack of motivation if you just sat there and you commentating through someone's play. It's not a job anyone could do as well. Like I think what Max did this to is it was pretty insane. Like he had the right temperament. He's got pretty good class knowledge of pretty much everything, and he's really good with strategy. So I don't think every guild could find someone in their guild currently that could even do what he did. I don't think it is that easy of just sitting on the sideline and just watching someone play and calling stuff out. So
Sure.
But yeah, I think if for guilds like us, like there's no motivation to do that. Even if it would increase our world rank, there's no motivation. We're not being paid, so no real reason to do
But
it.
even then, for a guild like us, it would be such a weird change. I feel like because there would be so many other like little things where we could kind of. I mean, at that point, why don't we just like make the push for day rating or something? I feel like maybe it's only really gonna be. I mean, maybe if pieces are continuing to go for world first, which I'm guessing they are, then it's pretty much only gonna be pieces, limit, and method doing it. And I would be very surprised if another guild decided to do it as well. When we played in Scrapbusters on Ashara, which I think was kind of like a big one as well, where didn't you guys have you two healed and then Chris was on the bench kind of calling stuff a little bit?
I mean, he literally said like 5 words.
Yeah, something like that,
during
right?
the entire
But
fight.
yeah, we did like the same thing. We pretty much just had a guy. He's actually in FatShark now. A guy called Werda, amazing player. He was healing in Scrapbusters back then, and he kind of did the whole little support thing where he would remind people about cooldown. So he would say, "This is this group soaking now," stuff like that.
I think
More than that, I don't think so. What do you say?
Didn't Limit also do it on the shower where they just had like one guy? And I mean, Max can confirm. I guess
I know
didn't
they
Limit
did
just
it
have a
on
guy
Cool,
just like you go soak, you go soak.
Yeah.
Just like a live weak card basically.
Maybe. I know they did on Sakul where they kind of. I mean, it was because you one tanked it, right? And Ducky was the best option for it, and then Max was again doing the same thing he did on.
Okay,
on
yeah.
top.
So TSD and Max was saying now they had like Potra.
Yeah.
Oh,
just
Potra.
like,
Yeah, okay.
like go soak. Instead of a weak card, they just had a guy being a weak card.
Yeah. On Zakul alone, that's our first time we've ever done that. It's just Discord stream. One of our hunters turned their POV on Discord, and we had one of our healers who sat himself to just watch the tentacles. Yeah. So we've even had that a little bit.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think it's gonna be like a lot more than those 2-3 guilds doing it, and then maybe occasionally a little bit. I think we had on Il'gynoth where Dramy, one of our officers, he was the healer that sat out. I think literally all he did was he told me to like Healthstone once or said, Bloodlust now or make sure mages combust this. I think he called 4 times on those 16 pulls, and that's it. And I don't think for us it's gonna be much more than that. And it's just if there's some guy that on a particular boss for one reason or another is setting out.
Yeah. I don't wish more people to do it. It doesn't look like super fun. Yeah.
It's no fun, man.
I don't know.
I think well that's sort of the angle that came up in a bunch of the casters talking, at least in this regard, and I don't know how many other the other side of the pond, what was sort of developing on the other side of coverage is that at a certain point, like you see how that's evolved, right, from real sports to like what the Overwatch League does or what Dota does or what League of Legends does, where they've got 2 coaches and your play-by-play analysis guy, and then they've got their replay dude that goes over all their different stream footage and gives all the different players pointers and stuff. That's like a 5, 6, 7 person team, whereas a World of Warcraft raid is 20, 26 people. There's a totally different way about it. And how far does this go down this rabbit hole of do you then start getting to a point where you're plugging and playing every single boss like mathematically and like beating what Blizzard tries to make without the organic play of what WoW has always been. Because if you go too far, then you're just mechanically crafting to beat the math, right? Which I think would definitely suck the soul, or at least some of the soul, out of what WoW rating is. And that those in the fight control the fight, right? I guess that's sort of how it's always been. But as it gets more and more competitive at a top level, different things are going to be pulled in from outside to give them that little bit of an edge, right? It's not always
And
just...
I mean, it is kind of, you know, the product of WoW becoming more competitive in the whole streaming scene. You know, going from when Method announced that they were gonna be streaming Progress in Uldir. I mean, I remember there was like a holy shit. It's like the guild is gonna be streaming. Like, what is this gonna do? Are like more guilds gonna pick up on this? How's it gonna affect other guilds like us? Because prior to that whole stream, you know, on Argus and whatnot, we'd have, you know, one Chinese guild that was on the boss, and we kind of seen, you know, they have this week, or let's go do this, and how do they play the first phase, and then you're pretty much on your own. And then, you know, you see broadcast messages go out, and oh, okay, Method killed it, so it's killable. You know, how do we,
Right.
what setup did they use? Go look at that, you know, and there's a whole bunch of people, you know, saying, hey, by the way, you should be stacking mages to immune the chains, or you should be doing this, or you should be doing that. So it's just a whole different game. And I do think that this is kind of like the next level for the whole like competitive level of it, where maybe you'll then have one guy that kind of manages as like a third person outside the raid, and he has this whole, you know, overlook of the whole thing. He doesn't have to worry about what his character is doing. Is he doing the DPS? Is he saving his cooldowns? Is he targeting the right thing?
Right.
And he can kind of just have, you know, this spaceship UI, the scribe UI, where he tracks every offensive, every defensive, every health zone, everything, and then he can kind of manage people like that. And I do think that it sucks some of the fun out of it, but I don't think we're gonna see it go away from that direction.
No, I don't know. I think Fabio would 100% agree as well if you would say World First Rating was more fun before we streamed. Like your own tactics,
Yeah.
your own things.
I said
Like-
it a few races ago already.
Ooh.
Yeah. It was more fun, but I mean, obviously, it's not very fun being able to make zero money out of like months of torture
Sure.
forming islands and anything. So like at this point, like I feel like with how much grinding going on, it's almost kind of necessary just to kind of give something.
Right.
But
Like not even having the opportunity to copy is already a great thing, honestly, because I didn't enjoy a lot of this tier, also to the fact that we obviously did copy, and I think Limit will agree to some extent as well, because they obviously did the same in the past. And also just like this wow effect when like the best guild released the kill video, and every other guild looked like, oh, it's cool, or like the random viewer saw for the first time like the mythic only phase, like. I mean, as a viewer, I guess it's nice to see the race, but I do miss like the times where when a kill video got dropped, like everyone is watching it and everyone is like, "Holy, what a great face!" Like Mythic Archimon, for example. And I mean, I think Max said it also earlier, especially with like the diehard hardcore fans, they make it kind of profitable, and like all the support people give us makes us earn some money. But like all this random useless toxicity and people making up stories to just make their guild look better, or make like the opponent's guild like look even worse, it's just boring when I hear like fake stories about myself, or like about some limit people, and people try to like defend us so desperately, or like limit so desperately. It's just boring. Like I definitely, and I think I speak for a majority of our guild, that we did enjoy back in the days raiding more, for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of like to a person not really doing that whole like super hardcore world first thing. I miss the whole, you know, going home or going, you know, to sit down in your break and you pull up your phone and say, hey, who killed the bosses? And now it's more of just a, you know, you'll get like live updates all the time.
Well,
You can
yeah.
go
Also
on
just-
Twitter and see, hey, someone posted, holy shit, Limit reached the last phase, or you're being spam DM'd with this clip in a
Let's get that bread.
Yeah, all this stuff, right? Where before it was more of like you go on Mana Flask and you see someone live posting or the Method website,
Yeah.
see someone live posting coverage about who killed the bosses now, what's the ranking looking like.
I think the rumors were
that's never
just
gonna be the
nice.
same. It was
The
fun, man.
Yeah, but like when you play yourself, also just the rumors were nice. Like, I mean, for me, it was usually like Exhaust is the main competitor, and now Limit, obviously. When we were like on Kill Jane, and then we hear like these leaks. Yeah, they didn't even make it to the darkness phase, and we are like, man, are you serious? Like, there's no way they're that far behind. And then like you kill the boss, and then like they tell you, yeah, we are not even there yet. Or like you hear this guild is also like very low percentage, and you're like, okay, we really have to like step it up now. And like nowadays, you have like. I mean, I obviously have also Pieces friends on my friend list, or like a Max or THT stream open during progression, and then I hear like even my chat saying, "Yeah, Limit just killed it," or Pieces just had a 15% vibe. Yeah, I know. I see the broadcasts in game that Pieces just killed the boss. I saw Limit. Like, I saw Max screaming Horse Gang and they killed the boss. You don't have to tell me, chat. Like I know. Like we are probably the first ones to actually figure out that a different guild killed the boss. And this is kind of boring. Like all this secrecy and mystery was the fun part about it. Like
It definitely added something that I'm gonna miss from the whole thing for sure.
I'm gonna miss Kona coming to TS. Guys, Bezos got you not at 4%. I'm 100% sure. I'm really good friends with this guy. He linked the screenshot and instant deleted it.
Was
So-
reached the wall on the first day, or we got the boss to 3%, but it didn't teleport away on Jaina, and it's like, oh well, that's unlucky, isn't it?
Like there's pros and cons to the whole thing, right? And you go back tiers and tiers and tiers, and I was always asking Sko, like, are you guys gonna stream? Are you guys gonna stream? Are you guys gonna stream yet? I'm pretty sure I asked Limit when I did their spotlight show way back in the day, and it was never a thing. And it definitely has changed the landscape for sure. And it's one of the leading factors of why this whole race to world first is definitely changing. And again, there are pros and cons. Obviously, the big pro would be just the community involvement beyond the shades. Only certain people, only a small handful of the people in Twitch chat like are making the rumors or trying to make all the trolly toxic nonsense, right? Yeah. By and large, there's such a huge positive response, and I'm sure Max would agree that the side of things that they've seen or what we've seen is that it's just a huge thing from like the casters reacting to it and seeing what the community sort of brings up across the board. It's been a great feeling for World of Warcraft to all at least have this somewhat togetherness because of how desynced rating just is in WoW. So, which again, I still don't. It's a dead horse, glue, whatever. Is that it sucks we can't get it on a global release schedule because we're gonna get Shadowlands as an expansion global. So, it's very strange that
I mean, yeah, I mean, I think we all agree, yeah, that like we love the community and like the support we're getting, like Limit, us, FatShark, Pieces. I think we all appreciate the fans we have and the supporters. But the biggest issue is just World of Warcraft is a game where you don't really play against your opponent directly in both MDI and in the World First Race.
Sure.
And it's all about figuring out tactics. And obviously the streaming makes your knowledge publicly available for everyone. Right. So like when you do something good, you don't really gain advantage out of it as much as in a different game, and you don't really feel like you're stomping your enemy or like you ever get into that momentum. It's like completely different than when you compare to Counter-Strike, League of Legends, Dota. Yeah. It's just like I feel like World of Warcraft just isn't designed initially for streaming to begin with. Like how the whole game works isn't supposed for the World First Race to be streamed.
The rating in
PvP,
particular, right?
Yeah, right. I mean, you saw the same in the MDI. First cup, you have, for example, Method you were dominating. Then different teams kind of copy the strats from them. Obviously, there was a few other teams that also had good strats. Then the next cup, they improved themselves. But at some point, especially at the LAN, you just see every single team play the exact same strat. You had no variety anymore, nothing. And I think that's just the biggest issue. Like everything, is it called homogen? I think, even in English, like when everything becomes the same, like
Right.
and this is how I just feel with World of Warcraft. Like it just doesn't fit.
Okay. We'll have to wait and see, of course. This is a total break in the discussion, though. Shades, are you gonna order food? Do you need a moment to order food?
Nah, it's fine, it's fine.
Are you sure? Because we could
Past
take
the time already.
we could take a short break, and I
Nah,
can.
it's alright, it's alright.
Okay.
We're,
Well, I
we're
mean,
method. We've had plenty of breaks already doing progress.
I know, about to say, like, come on.
I'm not eating, I'm on diet, you know.
Well, if you do need to take a quick moment, I'm gonna break this right here. Yeah, the break memes are everywhere. It's pretty good. Isn't there one? Hold on, I have Method's Instagram pulled up in case we were gonna refer to a couple of things, but I think we'll do that in the latter half of the show here. I guys have a couple of things that I gotta plug. So if you guys want to step away for a moment, grab a drink or something like that, stretch your legs, then you can. But Chad, if you have questions, of course, for the guests today, and the reason why you are probably here, I imagine, because that's the whole point of putting these shows together, sort of amalgamating some different takes on what FatSharkYes has done and the guilds that are like sort of right outside the race to world first, and of course, Method's POV here, even though Cayna rode the couch with us a whole bunch at the recent event. But I'm here. And of course, I'm supported by a bunch of lovely nerds and ladies on the internet, of course, that allow me to keep doing this thing. So if you want to keep supporting the show and keep FinalBossTV moving forward, of course, that is up to you if you would like to do so. Links are, of course, down below on YouTube. They're down below on Twitch. It's a whole bunch of different ways you can do so. Shout out to Mia for the huge gifted sub train earlier today in chat, you madman. But of course, if you're here for just the community aspect, of course, then make sure you're following all the different guilds that you want to make sure you keep up to date with, right? So I'm gonna pose the question soon. Just hold on. There's a question coming up that you guys I don't know the answer to this one, but Corsair and Elgato, not the question, but the answer to why I am also still here doing the thing is supporting the show, the stream, and everything in between. If you're looking for anything to upgrade your current build or a future build, I just did a huge build that took me a couple of days that I'm still sort of working on right now. Then you can check out the links down below for both Corsair and Elgato. I have been a huge fan of Corsair products for a very, very long time before I even got offered to work together with them. But if you're looking for stuff for yourself or for your stream or for someone else's stream or for a gift or whatever else, if I can help you save a little bit on that, of course, post the holiday crazy bonanza of sales, then the links, of course, are down below or the commands in chat. But that keeps the show rolling. That keeps us going on. And as a side note, I'm working on trying to put together like a BTS show for the Race to World First again with some of this like the casters and producers of the show from both sides of the field to sort of talk about like what it's like. We have the player perspective, but what's it like from the creation perspective on how that is from building these events and making the events happen. So that should be next week. Next Sunday's show, because I'm not sure when alpha or beta coverage will start for Shadowlands, and that sort of supersedes doing spec shows for BFA, because I think at this point, all we would talk about is corrupted gear, and you could read anything you want from like the Wowhead guides, for example, on what to do with certain classes and specs right now, or go to like hero damage or blood mallet to figure out your Azerite and your trinkets and your corrupted gear and all that nonsense. So I think we're kind of at that point right now where we're just waiting for Shadowland stuff, so new shows will come out for the next expansion then. But that all being said, Cayna, you ran away for a little bit. You back, sir? You good? You get a little refresh on that drink, Cayna?
Me?
Yeah, what'd you get there?
I literally just stood up. I have a drink right here.
Oh, what do you? Okay.
I literally just like went to walk around a bit because I hate sitting 24/7.
Oh, that's fair. I just saw you leave camera when I was talking, and I didn't want to jump back over to us when we weren't ready.
I think it was Fabo that left and Loozy. You could see me walk around the chair. Don't worry.
But,
yeah, I left quick.
Yeah.
Walk around the chair.
Walk around the chair. Yeah.
Get that cardio in, man.
So the question that I was prefacing though, Scott, can you answer what the story is behind what is a FatSharkYes?
Well, I'm probably not the best person for this, but pretty much there's a saying in Swedish. It's like a Swedish term, and it directly translates from Swedish to English as FatSharkYes.
Oh,
but obviously that's just gibberish. It doesn't mean anything. But I guess the best way to put it is it kind of means like rock on. It means like hype it up or something. Like
Oh.
I don't.
I
And it's
didn't
just
even
a-
know, man. I thought it was just a meme.
Oh, you don't even know
It's-
what it is, Loozy?
I have no idea.
Oh.
It's just a Swedish saying translated to English.
What is
That's why he's an
the
officer.
what is the Swedish saying?
Look
I
what
think
Tusen
Tusen
put
put
in. He's the GM.
Ah, there's Tusen, yeah. Yeah, what is it? Because I never knew what it was for, and obviously your image is just a fat shark. So I didn't know what the story behind it was. Yeah. Unironic guild names are so much better. Yeah. I'm trying to look at what this means because I have no idea what it's actually going to ever translate to. But that's an interesting one. How about open this second half of the show up a little bit here? Not even a half. We've got 30-ish minutes maybe. Shadowlands Hope Box. Normally I give and just open up the soapbox rant to guests on the show, but how about a Hope Box though? What are you guys looking forward to?
No islands.
I mean,
I've been very clear to anyone that asks me this.
sure.
If there is islands and unlimited, AP or something to farm, I quit. You
Well,
can quote me here.
we
I will
already
not
have-
again for a week of my life. Like I literally wasted like 1 week of my life. I'm not doing that again as CBA. I would rather than sit permanently on the couch.
Try and ask Scott how his prep felt.
Oh yeah, I
It's
granted
so
80 traits and
Literally
didn't
doing
play the
islands,
character.
like when I
Well-
went to bed, when I woke up, always in islands, and then it's like, oh, I got this blue ring from a well quest. I'm not even playing the character. I farmed 100 and so hours on. So
Ooh.
I mean, true. I ended up not even using any character at all after getting 80, 77, 77 or something. So
Well,
For me,
again.
Shadowlands Hope Box is if they just almost remove every edition from BFA, remove Azerite, remove Warfronts, remove Islands.
Nah, literally,
just
like-
remove it all. Like
I couldn't care about like AP. Like if I have to do 3 hours of world quest every day, easy. I don't mind.
Sure.
Can be done. I can do that every single day for like 2 years straight. I don't give a single fuck. I just hate and despise islands a lot.
I mean, we at least have that the power of God and anime, the anima power we're getting in Shadowlands has a weekly cap, a la Valor back in the day, and sort of the conquest cap we have now. So that might be a huge step forward towards what the
Yeah.
feedback for 2 expansions of AP has been and the next evolution. So as long as that holds true and that there is no
I mean-
power to be gained beyond that, then I think you might have part of that wish for sure.
I'm hoping that Blizzard looks at horrific visions and it's like, well, I mean, it might not be the most amount of content that we can give you, but this is like properly kind of weekly kept, and you can go over, if you like kind of want to like try and improve something.
Sure.
Like if you've gotten your cloak upgrades, you've done like a 4 mask run, you can still go do a 5 and then get some loot upgrade or something, maybe. Like I think that in general is like fine, you do a couple of dailies every day, and then like once every like reset you can blast out some upgrades here and there. I think that's manageable. Just-
Oh yes, you go.
There you go. I'm done.
For me, like I think the biggest thing is just good class design again, because I
Yep.
still think whatever content you do in the game, how much you enjoy it is kind of decided by the fact how much you like your class. Because I make always the example, a good raid with bad class design will be still considered a mediocre raid,
Mhm.
but like a mediocre raid with good class design will be still considered a good raid because you enjoyed playing your actual class. And I do think like 300 tries on the same boss, if the class is fun, decides more also if the boss is fun than the other way around, if that makes sense. I know
Mhm.
my wording wasn't the best, but I think the majority of people got it. So I think this is like by far the biggest point Blizzard has to improve. Talent system, the baseline toolkit, what you can do with the classes, definitely. And just like somewhat what Cayna went into, like weekly caps. I mean, at the end of the day, it's an MMORPG, so I kind of agree with the fact that you have to do something. also weekly or daily, I don't care. I just think there should be a cap, and it should be like the old Conquest cap, kinda. Even if you missed like a week, you should be always able to catch up to the highest level, like to the up-to-date point, basically, to that checkpoint, and just can't be able to go beyond.
Yep.
If people wanna play more than this cap, then it's for fun. But like there should be always like this border where you just can't do more. Because I feel or like I'm missing kind of the satisfaction from back in the days where I could just say on a Saturday or Sunday, I've done everything possible to improve my character. If I don't log in the next 2 days, it will not hurt my progression.
Yeah.
Or like I will not end my guild by not like even farming more, having a chance for corrupted item, having a chance for Titan Forge item. And I think this is like for me like the biggest thing. Just like to be able to sleep well without thinking I could have done more. I could have pushed PvP. I could have gotten this item. I could have done this world quest. And yeah,
But don't
and
you
they
think having a system like the current Conquest system, though, just for, you know, like increasing your character's power, whether it's like AP level or whatever, where it kind of
Well,
just
that-
stores it so you can then like catch up later on if you then decide, you know,
Yeah.
I'm going AFK for 4 days or for a week or whatever. I'm not going to be able to play because there's this thing. And then you come back afterwards and then you can just, you know, put in like a little bit of extra time and you can kind of, you know, get back to where it was before. And there's not like the same level of punishment.
Well,
but
that's
that's what I pretty much said, huh?
Yeah,
that's what the
exactly.
Covenant system
But it's like
sounds
the
like.
exact
Yeah.
system is
Yeah.
right there.
The only scary part to bring that back around to what you guys might work on, and I don't know if Max is still hanging out in chat, of course, or anyone else wants to chime into this, is that the scary part, even though that's a positive, is within the Shadowlands, you know, hope box is the soulbind system. And then each covenant having 3 different soul binds and potentially having 12 different like relic trees that are all different. And obviously each covenant of the 4 having different abilities that
Oh, that's easy for us.
sure. Well, you would well
We just make 4 we just makes 4 warlocks. Congrats.
Please not.
that's
I mean,
I have a lot of forehead, but I can't forehead any harder. That's the scary part, is that you guys had to
that is the
do
scary part.
you did
We
that
just
in
have to hope
Legion.
that we just have to hope that they listen really, really well to it, and
Yeah.
that they realize that, you know, even if it's a small difference gain, if it's a small difference gain, as in like, oh, here this one does like 8k DPS, this one does 9k DPS, but it's all single target gains and purely single target gains. It's not much of a difference, you know. You can kind of like, you know, go in between that. But if it's like, oh yeah, this one is like 4k single but 18k AOE, and then this one is like only single, then you're gonna have issues. Because then it's just dependent on like a fight design. It's like what's gonna be super OP. You're gonna have people want to swap.
Yeah,
I
and
just
you can't
really hope that they take good care of this and they realize what kind of system they have, and that you need to have a very linear power based.
Yep. Speaking of power bases, then across the board, Scott, you've been around in World of Warcraft for a while. Are there any boss mechanics you would hope to never see again?
Oh, obviously the football boss.
Oh,
I never want to see that again. That's probably the biggest one. I mean, I just think it has almost zero WoW skill involved in it, which is annoying. And then I think Ion said this during the interviews. He said something about RNG mechanics, and I remember Gahoon, the first boss, the last boss of Uldir.
right.
This boss, like, it could spawn 2 of the boils that MC you if you get 2 stacks on top of each other, pretty
Oh,
much.
sure.
And you know that there is no way you have 4 mobile classes that can get out on top of them perfectly within the 7 seconds or whatever.
I mean,
it's pretty much those 2. There's been worse RNG mechanics like Argus before.
even the stuff had a bit, with the bind grasps. Like it was literally just a coin flip every time. If you got every single bind grasp from the boss to the edge, you just get like so much free boss HP for no reason.
Yep.
Things like Minecraft is just boring in general, though.
Yeah,
I mean, we talked about it actually within the guild yesterday. I mean, you literally lose control for 5 seconds of your character while you can do nothing. Like you effectively can't do anything. Like, what is that mechanic? You just go AFK.
Yeah. And it's like it's the same for everyone. It's like only 2 ways. It would be way more fun if it was like maybe 4 or 5 ideas different for everyone else or something. So people had to figure maybe out on their own. But this is just like straight up boring. No interaction. They just have a raid leader, get to boss, go away.
Yeah, it's. I don't like harping on the N'zoth fight. We've beat that tentacly old god, and I'm not even there yet. I'm only on Vexiona, right? So I'm not gonna experience. I'm gonna experience a very different boss than you guys, though. The amount of gear I'll have when I get there, as well as the stupid cloak. What is that hat?
I just got told in chat I should put it on. So.
Oh. So all right then. Oh, there it is. The hell looks too big for your tiny head, Cayna.
Yeah, I know it is.
That's massive. Oh no.
It's like
Oh my gosh. All right then. This is Loozy, I'm gonna throw a question to you real quick. Are you ready?
Yeah.
What would you say to a player aspiring to be in a guild that wants to push somewhere in that world top 10-ish rankings hierarchy? What would you say to an aspiring player?
So I've actually my younger brother who's 19 just started playing the game. For some reason he
poor
starts
soul.
playing in BFA, right?
Dude.
Oh
So
no.
and it's like I don't know. He knows that I've been playing for a long time. I guess he wanted to, play whatever. He's playing a Demon Hunter. And since he started playing in I want to say like mid TEP, he's gone from like a world rank 5,000 whatever to being on Mythic Hive Mind now in like I don't know, it's like 500-600 something.
Nice.
And even that is like you just gotta like keep learning about your class, keep playing, and just kind of try, figure out first of all the class you want to play, and then try and understand, the class, get good at it, watch people who are really good at the class, research it, all this, and then kind of get like the mentality fitting to your, where you want to play at. So if you want to play in a, no one just joins like a top 10 guild other than Cayna. No one just joins like a top guild from like a one rank 1500 guild. Obviously people do it, but it's all about, the mindset you kind of go into, and having the right mindset for the right guild is very important. So if you wanna go for world first, if you wanna day raid super hard, don't try and like join a guild that is just just not enough. Try and like get into a guild, be learn to play the game there, get some bosses, get some achievements, some experience, and then you kind of have to build your way up, right? Unless you have something to show for it somehow. Or in, I think, Cayna, you played, was it Shaman or something, and they really wanted a Shaman at that point, so they're like, hey, let's give this guy a shot, and now they're stuck with him. So
Then it was dog shit, and then you were stuck with me.
so
I
I
think-
mean, yeah, definitely go on.
I think it's hard though to get like the proper mindset without getting it like taught by good players. I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like a big issue is many trials come from a guild where they got like the bad mindset taught, and then like you kind of have to like change their personality or like how they approach certain things in an actual good guild. Like you have that a lot. I feel like when like not necessarily in our guild, but like also when I talk like with the like immersion guild leader and stuff, like you get people that actually have the mechanical skill and stuff, but like they just have like this entire like whoring, padding, or like certain ways how they approach bosses, just like the wrong mentality. And like I feel like it's kind of hard to just learn a proper mentality. I think that I mean it's a good, it's definitely like a good tip, but at the end of the day it's also really hard. Like I feel like you need like good teachers to begin with, that you immediately become that kind of player. And I think like another thing is also, you shouldn't just approach the game with I wanna be a world first player at the end of the day.
Sure.
Because I feel like it doesn't matter if it's World of Warcraft, Dota, League. I think the least people got actually insane at what they're doing just because they wanted to be like a pro gamer at that game or become rich with that. I think like, even though it always sounds so cliche and so like from a movie, you kind of have to enjoy the journey and be really passionate about it to actually get really good. I think there's
For sure.
a very small amount of people, like a handful basically, that actually get good in a game just because, okay, I want to be good at this, and not because, oh my god, I enjoy it so much and I play it every day 10 hours.
Sure.
You automatically just learn more, and you want to learn more, and you learn quickly as well if you enjoy what you're doing. That's why, like, whenever somebody asks, like, hey, what class should I play? It's like, play something you find fun, because if I'm gonna force you to play Warlock, you're probably not gonna be very good at it. But if you really, really enjoy Balance Druid, go for it. You automatically get probably a lot faster, or a lot better at it just because you enjoy it.
Right.
And like realistically, you can pretty much play almost anything outside of, I mean, even like top 3, top 5, something like that. And it just keeps getting, if you're really, really good, I wanted to say Windwalker, but I think Windwalker is the worst example. If you're like a really, really good enhancement shaman, if it's enhancement shaman is it does damage, it's okay.
Yeah.
So if you're a really good enhancement shaman, you're probably gonna be more attractive to bring to the raid than this boomer demon hunter that has no idea what he's doing. He doesn't really want to be there. He's not very good at the game. All this. So I mean, it's all depending on what kind of world rank you're at. And then if you're sitting there going for world first, maybe rolling a Feral Druid main and Survival Hunter alt isn't your ideal situation. So then you probably have to look at, okay, what's looking strong? What could I potentially play that would be the best for my guild here?
Anything you want to add from an officer standpoint, Scott?
It's hard. I mean, it's rough because I mean, if you're applying from like a World 500 guild or something, that it doesn't look good immediately, and logs aren't a good indication of anything because most tiers have like a lot of boss fights, like especially the Eternal Palace. This tier, I mean, almost half the bosses, the logs just meant absolutely nothing. Like Zakul meant nothing, Orgazoa meant nothing.
Yeah.
Even Ashara, I mean, there was so much you could do on bosses like that. So, but I'd say, I mean, just apply, just keep applying, and keep going up the ladder until you do get into one of the top guilds.
So if they apply though, and they're from outside that realm, but they attach a photograph to their application that's this, will they
Oh yeah, that's definitely.
will they
I
will
mean,
they get
that's
in?
like
That's
that's
just
like
getting
a
plus points, yeah.
25% higher chance that you're getting in then probably.
I'm just double
That
checking.
That's like people ask you, do you know anyone in the guild? Do you have anyone to vouch for you? Just rev that
You
one
link that
man, and that's
picture.
like the biggest vouch you could ask for
Okay.
sure.
I was double checking. What if they did the Chubby Bunny challenge live? Will they get in if they did the Chubby Bunny? Is that something that'll help?
I mean, Mike already raided the method a couple of times, so
It's true.
apparently it does.
Times.
So,
It's true.
I mean, Jari is basically part of method, so that means that it's only you to apply now.
Oh, yeah. I don't think, Mike has to reapply and I would have to apply. Yeah, okay.
Yep.
All right. Now, let's see here. And this is going back to you, Scott, again. I just kind of pick on the officer that's here, right? And this goes back around. So think of this while Scott answers, is that from a World of Warcraft, like, high-end mythic rating perspective, obviously we all have to have a different way of looking at analyzing our own play, our guild's play, logs, this kind of whole thing. But Scott, what to this day would be a flaw that you still work on while raiding in World of Warcraft?
Probably, yeah, tilting. I mean, I think everyone tilts over certain stuff. I mean, it could be anything. Like you could have a bad night on a boss, you could play bad yourself, or you could see other people playing bad, and you kind of just get tilted over it. And I try not to let it affect my play, but at the end of the day, it's still a pretty big factor in raiding. Especially, I mean, it must be worse for Method and Limit going for world first. If you read in your chat that Method just killed a boss, Limit just killed a boss, like that's not going to be good for the next pull. So luckily we don't really aim for anything. Like we kind of just aim for top 10, right? So we don't really mind if we hear that Method killed the boss like that. We just expect it. So it's probably just tilt, I would say.
I think that's even like when you say the whole, in if Shades is streaming and Limit kills a boss, 25 guys will instantly go into his chat and go, hey, have you seen, Limit killed it, Limit are wiping on 1%,
Yeah.
do you feel the pressure? It's like, I mean, if that doesn't affect you just a little bit, or it affects someone in the raid just a little bit, maybe not Fabo, for example, because he has so much, experience with the whole thing, but even on like our level as well. I remember when I was in Scott Busters on Megatorg, and I think you guys kind of had, a little thing on Megatorg as well. We were on
Yes.
Megatorg as well.
I blame.
There
I
were
blame
like a bunch of
officers.
kills, and then Future kills it before us, right? And that was because we transferred to Twisting Nether. That was kind of like a little banter with, Future saying, "Don't worry, we'll still get the realm first over Scrubbusters. It's fine." And then, you kind of feel the heat when they then swoop in and kill Megatorg first, and it's like, okay, probably doesn't do anything great for the raid that someone mid-pull goes, "Oh, hey, Future killed it, guys." And it's like, someone then tilts and then another one tilts, and then you have 20 minutes of useless pulls. So
Yeah,
tilt
99%
is
damage
definitely a big
reductions.
factor.
Yeah,
And
that's actually
75% or 99, that's a big factor as well.
Yeah, that's actually true. Also, like for new recruits, since we had a topic earlier, because this is actually like one of my weaknesses. Like I'm someone, even like in progression as well. I said it like I said openly to my stream. I doubt that we will win this race. When I saw how far Limit was ahead, because I'm not really. I don't think I'm negative. I'm just like really realistic. But you should obviously never like give up the hope. Like you should be more like, yeah, maybe the damage check is really hard, and like we can still do it. You obviously also want to give like your fans and supporters the feeling you're still. I mean, in my opinion, I still gave my best and I still do everything I can. But like, obviously, if you admit you're probably losing, people will think you're not giving your best anymore. And like, a big issue for me was I'm just unrealistic. We are like 2 progress days behind Limit in my head, and I think everyone can agree on it at the end of the day. I was like the kind of guy, yeah, we will probably lose. But this is obviously not good. Like even though I didn't say it in TeamSpeak, which I did in the past, and I got flamed for that, so I tried to stop that at least.
Right.
It's still like people at the event will hear me saying it, and they're like, "Dude, that guy gave already up." Like that is definitely like the wrong attitude, and I think sometimes just for the greater good of the guild, you kind of have to just try to show at least positivity, even though if you don't really mean it. The best thing would be obviously that you mean it. But like I'm, for example, not like a Gingy that is always just happy and like just always believes in the world first and whatever. But that is, I think, a big thing you can do also as a raider. Like you should be always positive and like try to like push your teammates rather than being realistic. Maybe like just always say like, okay, we got this, guys. We can still overtake them. It sounds stupid, but like I do think at the end of the day, the mood of the guild depends a lot on like how good you will perform.
Right.
For
And
sure.
and that's something I've to work on, for example.
I've actually gone decently past that. I had interesting 2 tiers where I got really tilted, but I think like in Eternal Palace and I mean even though I didn't play much this tier as well, like I don't get affected nearly as much by tilt anymore. So
if it's
yeah,
not if it's not tilt, then what is there to just piggyback off what you're going off of then, Cayna? Do you have something else that might come up in
just like kind of everything. Like I always after every single tier, I always try and have my little talk with Scribe, like hit me up. What can I do better? And I look back at my own thoughts and like I just like small UI improvements that I know is like, oh, I can do this better, or just in general like things that I like concentrate on. Is like, okay, I know I'm doing this poor. Like I think after Ashara, I think like the last few days of Ashara, for example, I didn't die. Like I was, you can look back at the logs for like the last few days on the Ashara, and I didn't die a single time, like by first or anything, right?
Right.
But at the start, I had a lot of early stupid deaths. So I made sure that before the tier, I would go better through my weak auras and identify what can kill you quickly, and highlight those a lot more with like either big wicks or the actual weak auras itself. Things like that. Okay, that picture still haunts me today.
Does it haunt you? Why does it haunt you?
I'm just like look at it and I'm like, what the fuck am I doing?
It's such a
I feel like I almost
such a wholesome
The thing
picture.
is, I didn't even realize it was you from like the start. I thought it was like some guy from production. Like, what the?
Oh no, definitely me.
What the frick?
Yep. So
I also have pictures at home, me Pantas. Really? What could it be?
What could it be? So I guess the last big thing that here we can bring up to chit chat about. I mean, first off, shout out again to all the community members and the artists that sent in Ny'alotha photoshops during the event. Is really good stuff that came through here. This is Chunky Ninja's submission, for example. I'm just going back through memories of the event.
They were good.
Oh, for sure.
Really good.
No, there were tons of memes this tier.
Well,
I don't get that meme actually. Who's that?
That's one I don't get either. But like the most of the memes, like the one with the breaks.
Who's that
Oh.
cartoon character? Or
That
like, who's
is-
that character?
That is Nigel Thornberry from the Wild Thornberries. And
It's like a dad from like a cartoon show, right?
yes.
Never
Yeah.
seen.
No,
I'm-
but-
Neither.
Well, I think
Even-
the meme of Nigel Thornberry is that he has a really huge face for his like normal size like cartoon body, and people started photoshopping his face onto people all over the place, and like different reveals and things all of a sudden where it's just Nigel Thornberry's face. So it just became a thing. Why? What is N'zoth's? Is it an initial or his actual name? So we started calling him Nigel Zoth. I mean, there's also this meme that came up. I mean, that's 50 Shades. That one was pretty good.
I like the deep shades and the shallow shades one.
Oh yeah, that
Yeah,
was
there was quite a lot of memes about me actually.
yeah. There
A
absolutely
lot of
was.
ones with breaks as well. Like photoshopping skulls, Rogers and scrap face everywhere.
Oh,
Yeah, there was actually great pictures of them, like from like this movie pictures.
Yeah.
and,
And then they adjust the title a little bit, the long break.
mm-hmm. Oh,
That's
those
good.
were incredibly good. Yeah, I don't have all the different things pulled up. Those were all going out through the entire event. So let's talk about this last one here. Cayna, you go first. We'll go in opposite order here. So
Yeah.
if you can go back in time to before Battle for Azeroth launched, to tell your 2-ish-year-old or ago past self something about this expansion,
Right.
what would you warn or tell 2 years ago past Cayna about BFA?
If you want a real answer, it'd probably be don't do it, quit.
No, not that bad.
Yeah, I think it's actually that bad. I don't think I've had very many. I mean, the good memorable things are obviously like, the actual world's first kills I've gotten. I guess actually what it would be is just instantly main Shadow Priest, because I got one with Beauty there, and it probably would have been useful as well in the Shara, maybe. I don't know,
Sure.
but I don't know. Like honestly, it would probably just quit this expansion at this point.
Okay. That's deep. Loozy, what would you tell yourself 2 years ago?
I mean, if I'm not just gonna copy Cayna's, man, I guess I have to just take like the mild version and say be patient. Just like deal with this expansion and then hope that it's gonna be better eventually. Because I do think that this has been like, I mean, it's been the worst expansion I've played for sure in general. It's taken so many things that I really enjoyed about a new tier, or just like the whole aspect of progression rating. It's taken that away and just added like so much frustration. So stuff like Master Loot being gone is like the biggest one for me, I think. Probably for you guys as well.
No, that just added to this extra slaving, really.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel
It's a
like
big
the lack of
Yeah.
Master Loot is like the craziest thing, man. I mean, for an example, the first tier we had here with Uldir, I got super unlucky. The only item I looted on our heroic clear was hands, and I crafted hands at that point. So I traded that away. I didn't get anything in my chest. And I then, had to sit out 2 bosses on progress because it was just more attractive to bring literally anyone else. Because my character was, I think it was like 18 eye level slower than our highest geared mage, and it was just the worst feeling.
How
man.
many?
Like 18 eye levels, like 15 or 18. It was
Holy.
insane. I was like 350. It was like 370 something. It was insane, man.
That's
And
good.
that feeling of just like being powerless and potentially putting in like a lot of prep in islands,
Yeah.
and then just get screwed like that has just been terrible. I mean, even this tier, I've not really gotten any good corruptions, and I ended up sitting out on N'zoth as well, which is like our worst get Warlock.
The
So
expansion
it's just terrible.
It just didn't have much. Like Legion started off as a freaking clown fiesta as well. It really didn't have much good. But at least at the end of Legion, class design was still, a bit better. You had like legendaries you could swap around, like tier bones and stuff. It was a bit better. Most classes were pretty okay to play. And that kind of made like people play M+ even more, and people play PvP a bit more. So it was like a bit more alive of the game. And then what like had 0 content, kind of like what this has. But at least what class design was freaking amazing.
I also
So you
kind
enjoyed
of
playing
miss
the
the
game.
whole, and I know that someone like Flex talks a lot about this, but tier sets, right?
Yeah.
Where I miss how tier sets kind of changed or potentially changed the way you played your character a little
Yeah.
bit. So
Okay.
I play Destruction Warlock, or I play Warlock, mainly Destruction Warlock. Destruction has literally been the same way you've played from like day one Uldir until now.
It's horrible.
It's like the same talent you play. You got like double the trades, obviously, in with the patch when you got like an extra ring on the Azerite thing.
Yep.
That's
If
it.
you were Crashing Chaos a
We've
little bit.
we've not reworked Crashing Chaos, that's right. And
little
then
bit.
the essences thing kind of did a little bit. Other than that, it's literally the same talents, same spells, same rotation, same everything. No like bonuses or anything affects how you play, and it's the worst feeling, man.
When you
Like,
get the question, what's your favorite spec in the stream?
There's none.
And you're like,
oh my god,
bro,
man.
I
It's
don't
like, I
have
don't know.
one. I'm like, whatever I didn't play for the last year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. And I miss stuff like the Fire Mage set bonus in Blackrock Foundry, right? Where you got this sick proc and you could just spam pyros for like 3 seconds, man. And it just like changed the way that the spec was kind of looked at. And it just added like this whole thing.
Yeah.
Or in Nighthold with the destruction bonus, where you got an extra stack of conflict rate,
Mhm.
you got like faster chaos bolts, and just these little things that kind of make the spec feel just like a tad more fresh. Man, I really miss that.
Boomkin in Tomb of Sagaris got the one that's basically what is the talent now? Starlord? That kind of changed the gameplay. And you had like the braces and stuff that you made you like Starfall randomly. Like, I don't know, just like things that actually change your gameplay would be so appreciated.
What would you tell 2 years ago you, Shades?
I honestly have to just do the hard copy of Cayna. Like, honestly, Fabo, get a proper job, do something with your life, and quit. I mean, it sounds so negative, and I don't want it to sound like this because I appreciate all the friends I've made along the way.
Mhm.
I really enjoy the streaming I've done in BFA. Like, the opportunities
this
go and Method in general has given us, and as much as my guildmates are annoyed of me sometimes, I really love playing with them and that they stick with me. But honestly, the only good thing I can say about BFA that it was so horrendous that I actually kept my diet because I was like, I won't play WoW for the rest of my life and might as well lose weight while it's shit. And I don't enjoy playing it anyway until it gets better again. Like, that's honestly the best thing about BFA, that it was so bad that I found interest in other stuff.
I mean, there's positives to be taken away from that. Yeah. That's fair.
Thanks, Blizzard, basically, for making the game not so great that I lost actually weight and focused on my health.
Scott, take us out with that one. What would you tell 2 years ago you?
Probably not to start studying a degree at the start of the most grindy expansion I've done. So.
Dude, it's like how we took Flex in, yeah. It's like, nah, there won't be any farming in this expansion. Poor Flex, man.
What degree are you studying?
It's a joint major, computer science and maths.
Well, you have a bunch of time now before we might not even get. I'm in the camp with Mike about I would actually be fine with a spring Shadowlands next year, right? Even though it'd be a long time to float around BFA, but if they take the time to really make, well,
that's not nice.
your other option is
like the longest
right after. Yeah, it might be, but we
if
saw
my
what
other
happened.
option is alpha now, beta soon. I would.
Well, that's the other option.
Take that.
Hopefully,
I would take that pretty gladly.
We need 6 other months of testing though, otherwise, because BFA only had about 5, and we see what happened there.
It's actually funny if Flex is in the chat. Yeah, sorry for interrupting, but that's legit how we baited him into the guild. Like, I remember, I think it was Xavier and me, maybe even Meres. Nah, Meres wasn't there yet. I think we literally told him, next expansion we kind of take it chill because we hoped that Exhausters wouldn't really go hardcore and limit. We didn't know about them, that what the missions they had at that point.
Yep.
So we were legit, let's play 3 characters. And I mean, we saw in Uldir we actually only had 3 to 4 characters, case by case within the guild. And then it just gradually got worse and worse and worse again. And at the end of the day, yeah, we all know how much Flex played this game, this expansion, and the general Method player. So yeah, I'm sorry, Flex. We did that to you, but you love it.
Well, I mean, Flex is sort of known for that. Did Flex even? How many kills was he in for?
He was in a good amount, but in that regard, Flex has a good mentality. If he knows there's a better class, or I mean, in our guilds it's a better class in the usual case, then he says, "Leave me out, take someone else in."
Gotcha.
But yeah, it's a common misconception though. Flex does not like to farm to that extent. People like Flex and Meres do like farming certain things, like playing their characters and stuff. But I think no one really enjoys farming on so many characters, a neck, whatever there is to farm. Like,
All I'm saying, I tuned into the Flex stream a little bit today, and I saw him playing a Windwalker monk. And I just like, I said hi, I noticed it was a Windwalker monk, and I just like went to like the top right and just clicked away the browser, yeah? Like I full of F.
Dude, as like a Windwalker main man, I find that so offensive.
Actually, the best part
That's-
after the tier was to go to like, you know, your Battle.net thingy and just be like, disable, 2 accounts disabled.
it was actually funny. Meres checked for Windwalker logs because he wanted, I think, to understand his Windwalker, or like he was deciding which class.
Mhm.
And like the first Windwalker was like place 650 on mod DPS, and he was like, "Yo, how is that rank 1 Windwalker?"
That's like the weirdest thing, right? Because that Windwalker is one of my ults as well. And it's like when you then, I got Coral and I was like trying to decide how to, use my Coral. So I
Mhm.
go into logs and it's like everyone just like played it differently. And then I realized, holy shit, man, there aren't enough people that play Windwalker
Yeah.
that anyone has like figured out, hey
Nope.
What
guys,
to do?
this is the cutting edge thing.
Yeah, that's obviously a big
That's
thing,
the kind
yeah.
of thing, man.
Like,
And you can play like different talents because everyone kind of makes it work. Because not
Mhm.
enough people play it for that to be like a clear best.
At least we have Daddy Word up to do that for us.
We do.
The one guy randomly sneaking into like the top 20s, top 10s.
He's
FatSharkYes
slapping
loot
right now,
bag.
though.
I know.
Who's that in the chat?
Why is there
FatSharkYes
a
loot
Fetch-
bag.
It's
I-
obviously
I-
Ted. What's up, Ted?
I cannot be asked, honestly.
That's really good.
That's a great
That's-
thing about the FatShark boys, just so big memes, yeah.
I love it.
Well, you gotta take the good with the bad and keep it light, right? Because if you go too far down that rabbit hole, then it becomes a little bit. WoW would be a little bit too much. So I didn't mean.
Well-
Congratulations, Slootbag, on the acquisition of joining FatSharkYes. There you go.
He's finally relieved, yeah.
Obviously.
Well, what Method usually did was always take people from FatShark, yeah? Like, that
Cool.
was kind of our recruitment pool.
True.
We actually on our TeamSpeak I have it open here. We have a channel. I'm actually in the channel right now called Method Poaching Room. So yeah.
Oh no.
It's always bad because, like, obviously you have also friends in in other guilds. Like,
Yeah.
you're obviously not just limited to Method people in our case, but like, you obviously want a good player for your guild, so you kind of recruit him. But at the same time, you feel bad because you take a good player from a different guild where you have friends in a way, even though you don't mean it in an evil way. You still take. You are egoistic at the end of the day and take like that player if he says yes, of course. And
Yeah.
it's always like a bad situation because we overdid it in Method and at some point joined a bit too many people at the same time. Let's say it like this.
Yeah, I remember like 5 people coming back after 2 more cigars or before 2 more cigars.
I do agree with what Xeronic says though. If someone gets asked to like join a guild and then accepts, I mean, that kind of gives away that that person would be like is anyway fine with leaving the previous
Right,
guild
yeah.
behind, and like he would maybe either way do it at some point.
Yeah.
That's definitely true.
I mean, we literally did the same thing where we had a one of our warriors, Giga, who's also a great player, who I played with in Scrubbusters back in the days. And then, when SB disbanded, a couple of us went to Fat Shark, and he also apped, and I was like, not sure if there is room. And then we get closer. He joins another guild. We get closer to the tier, and we realize, wait, we actually kind of want to recruit a warrior. So we go hit him up, and then we yoink him from the guild he just joined, and got like into learn everybody, like to know everything, and then we yoink him over to Fat Shark where he's now playing. So I mean, everyone kind of does it, right? But it's what Saronic says, if he wanted to leave, man, he was looking to do it anyways. So.
But he left you guys first, and then you recruited him back again, or what?
No. He left, or when Scopbusters disbanded, he joined another guild.
Oh, okay, now I understood. Okay, I
Yeah,
was reading chat.
and then we yoinked him. I'm not gonna mention the name, but we yoinked him from that other guild.
Yeah, good.
How could you? Well, I think, gentlemen, that's all we got time for. That just flew right by, and is there anything else you wanted to sort of end with about Ny'alotha, with patch 8.3, with corrupted gear, with any nuggets you want to leave? Cayna,
do you want a good fact?
Fact me.
Scott and me, we know each other from long ago before we even played WoW.
Really?
We randomly played League together, and we made like a small League team. And somehow Scott and me managed both in it. And like I think like a couple years ago, I just literally realized that Scott was the Scott that I used to play League with. It was like, what the?
It was like 7 years ago or something.
Yeah.
So.
Dang. Okay, well, there you go.
It was random, but fun.
Oh, he still does play League, man, during PTR tests. Do in-house FatShark League games instead of PTR testing.
Dude, we need to do in-house FatSharkYes versus in-house method at some point, yeah. It needs to
Scribe
happen.
Katarina one trick.
Yeah, dude, I'm ready.
Man,
dude.
I'm a Zoe one trick, so I'm not even better myself.
I mean, the Method Raster World first coverage is now including Final Fantasy XIV as of the newest Eden's Gate launch. So in before there's like a Method coverage of League show matches between guilds to settle
I'm
beef.
ready, dude.
I don't know. Yeah, let's make it happen.
Ready.
Just talk to Lucas, see what he can do. But I'm gonna slam down this button right here that signifies the closing of the show. So thank you very much, everyone, for joining us today for episode number 210.
I have to say something then.
What, Shades? What?
Method is recruiting people again.
There you go.
we are in desperate need of people for the next expansion that we can claim the world first title back.
Okay.
Preferably no Warlocks, because I do not want to lose my raid spot. It's the last thing I have going for me in my life. So if I even lose that spot, it's pretty empty. Nah, but in all seriousness, we are looking for people, and it doesn't matter like how much experience you have right now. If you're feeling confident and you're a good player, just apply. I think this time around we are way more open to trial more people during this phase right now, because it's the last year obviously, and we have a long time. So don't be scared. And now it will be not 3 alts. Just be prepared. It could be 1 character or it could be 10 characters. You need to be a nerd that has nothing to do in his life.
It's for the next expansion anyway. You need to re-level in gear. So worst case, you get some characters leveled up before the end of the expansion. You get to go.
It's true. But that's that then. Scott, do you want to do is FatSharkYes recruiting as well? You want to plug that?
I wouldn't say we're recruiting players, but we're recruiting listeners for Lazelle's podcast. He was going during the raid, so.
No.
Actually, if you guys get new people, we can recruit your old people.
No. Hold on. Hold on. No. Hold on. No. Cut the music. Cause hold on. You're telling me that hang on. This is the podcast you're recruiting for? This one right here? Is that the podcast?
Oh yeah, that's the one. It's also, you can find it on Spotify actually. It's Lazelle's podcast, as in a pre-pod.
Oh no, that's so
Yeah, it's on Spotify.
Okay.
So you can go look it up.
Okay.
I hope we are memeing it, yeah, right now.
No, it is on Spotify.
It is on Spotify. Someone probably link.
Hold on. I have the proper reaction for this before I cue the music back up again, courtesy of our boy Nex. Here, let's just let this. Let's just let this yeah. Yeah.
The link has been found.
Yeah. All right, hitting the button again. We're getting back to the closing of the show. Let's get out of here with this one. That was 210. Thank you very much for being here, everybody. Of course, joining us along this adventure. Again, my name is Adam K.A.K. Bay. I don't even think I said that at the beginning of the show because I just got right into it. I don't know what happened. But again, thank you for supporting the show all these years. Of course, going to the next expansion. We've been doing this since Mists of Pandaria now. About to go into Shadowlands with testing and shows of that nature. So the links are all down below if you want to make sure the show keeps happening. If you want more of the show, of course, that's available over on the show's Patreon page. If you want the behind-the-scenes extra podcast. And there's not one for this show, of course. We just did a big old 2-hour block for you here. But those are linked down below. So thank you to those nerds and ladies that are supporting what I do on the internet. But around the horn one more time. There's Scott, FatSharkYes, officer extraordinaire, potentially. Really subtle memer. I like the straight face you keep when you bring up all these things. Is admirable, sir. But I appreciate.
That's the most frustrating thing about being the new guy, FatShark, man, is Scott's voice, because he will he will with the like you never know if he's pulling like the sickest meme or if he's dead serious. And I mean, I'm still not I haven't figured it out yet. So
I don't think anyone has.
I'm about to say a confirm deny.
Yeah, it's a thing.
Well, thank you for being on the show today, sir. I appreciate your insight on things.
Cheers.
And there's Shades, of course. Now, you let in the comments down below, what's your favorite shades? Deep shades, shallow shades, or 50 shades?
Yeah, mine is definitely 50 Shades.
Yeah.
But in a different regard, yeah.
Okay.
Let's, and there's Loozy as well. Thank you for joining on the show again. Not only talking about Warlock today, talking about...
That's a new one.
Yeah. But appreciate it, sir. Hopefully you can keep up with the memes. That, or not, or serious, Scott. You don't know.
I'll definitely do my best for trying.
And there's Cayna, my blue brother in arms. Always a pleasure, sir.
Thank you very much for having me again.
That is going to do
Forward
it.
to the next.
Ooh. When is the next show? What do you think? We're going to do an enhancement show? You going to switch roles?
I mean, I'm up for any show. I mean, I'm still the guy who started popularizing Battle Shaman, so you can show me on the rest too as well at this point, I guess.
That's true. That is definitely true. But stay tuned on the social medias, of course, for upcoming shows. Next Sunday, I'm planning like a behind the scenes. I'm going to try to get some people that have been behind making the Race to World First come to light on both sides of the pond, I suppose, to sort of get a little inside information about just how it's evolved and changed and how you create and crew involved and all this other stuff and media and all that. Next Sunday's show, and then of course we'll see when beta or alpha starts for Shadowlands when we can start doing class coverage for that. But thank you everyone for tuning in today. Have a great rest of your evening. Trust in your RNG corrupted gear rolls. I don't know. But until next week, everybody. Bye.
Cheers.
Wave at the people. Wave at the people on the internet. Wave. Shades, you can do it. Oh, look at that. 2 hands. Beautiful. That's the wrong.
Enthusiastic.